Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, September 6th Town Board Legislative Meeting. If you'd like to join me, would maybe someone in the front row, would you guys like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, maybe? How would you like to? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. And will our town clerk please call the roll?
Drawe.
Here.
Kohl.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Ockenden.
Here.
Great. Thank you very much. So before I begin this meeting, I do have a nice a proclamation here we'd like to give out this evening. Childhood Cancer Awareness Month is in September, and I do have a family, and I have a representative from Cure Cancer here tonight to accept this proclamation from us. And so, whereas the month of September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, during this month, childhood cancer organizations raise awareness and funds in honor and memory of kids with cancer. And whereas the cancer does not discriminate, impacting even our youngest children. And whereas childhood cancer is a leading cause of death by disease in children. And whereas over 40 children per day are diagnosed with cancer in the United States, according to the American Childhood Cancer Organization. And whereas the number of families impacted by childhood cancer continues to grow, including right here in our Penfield community. And whereas the Town of Penfield is honored to join organizations, families, and individuals around the world as we raise awareness of childhood cancer and honor and remember all those impacted. So now be it resolved that the Town of Penfield proclaims September 2023 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And this is dated today on September 6th and signed by myself, Debbie Drawe, Town Supervisor, Linda Kohl, Councilwoman, Candace Lee, Councilwoman, and Bob Ockenden, Councilman. So I want to thank you, and I wanted to recognize Holly Dutcher from the Childhood Cure Cancer, and also would you guys like to come up to the podium and say a few words?
Well, we're so grateful that the Town of Penfield is recognizing September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. There are many ways to raise awareness during September. The awareness ribbon is gold, as you can see.
Yeah.
My friends here have gold on, and I have gold on, because kids are precious, and they are being impacted by childhood cancer daily. I wanted to introduce my friend Mackenzie and her family to talk a little bit about their experience with childhood cancer.
Hi. My name's Mackenzie. This is Brooke. This is my son Spencer and his best friend Liam. We were introduced to childhood cancer in May of 2021. My oldest daughter Skylar was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic Ewing sarcoma. She fought for 355 days and she lost her battle on May 15th of 2022. Cancer is really real in kids, guys. So we do appreciate your awareness and your attention to this subject.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
And Mackenzie was just saying, obviously different cancers deserve recognition, but, anything that people can do, especially something, it might seem simple, what you all did today by recognizing childhood cancer, you can see how impactful it is. And we're so appreciative. If anybody in the community wants to learn more about what they can do to raise awareness, they can go to curekidscancer.com/awareness.
Okay.
And we have a calendar of events. We have different proclamations, so we'll be featuring this on the website as well as a thank you for what
Great.
you're doing.
And if you can send that information to us, and we will make sure we put that on our website for you as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for coming.
Yeah.
You have a beautiful family, Mackenzie.
Thank you so much.
You guys are all beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Holly, this proclamation is for you. Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
You guys did a great job, too, on the pledge.
She's got it down. She started school yesterday.
Very
Already?
good job. Thank you.
Start school yesterday.
She's got it all down.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, let's get situated here. Next, thank you, guys. Okay.
All right. On that note.
So, I'm to this next part of our agenda is, before I go, is the budget officer's message and information presentation of the 2024 tentative budget. So a little intro I would like to give you into our annual budget process. One of the primary responsibilities of this town board is to adopt a balanced budget that accurately estimates the revenues and expenditures of the town for the coming fiscal year. Meetings have taken place since early summer between our department heads and the comptroller and I to discuss the budget requests for 2024. We have shared department heads' requests with the town board in August as we prepared the tentative budget. The supervisor's tentative budget is presented tonight to the town board. This is so that the town board can develop the preliminary budget to present to the public on October 4th. The town board will then have a chance to review the tentative budget and make any adjustments. Once the town board settles the tentative budget, at that time, the preliminary budget, which will be filed with the town clerk. At that point, no changes shall be made to the preliminary budget until the town board conducts a public hearing. And that public hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, October 4th. So in the weeks following the public hearing, the town board will then work to finalize the 2024 budget for adoption at our November 1st meeting. And that's just to give you a brief little recap of how we got here and where we're going. So, and I will turn this over to Barbara Chirdo, our comptroller.
Thank you, Supervisor Drawe. Thank you, Town Board, for all the work you've put in so far for this budget. What's going on? Before I get into the summary of the town budget, I just want to give a reminder regarding where your property tax dollars go throughout the year. The town share is actually the smallest piece of the pie. We account for approximately 7% of your tax dollar. With that smallest portion, though, we provide your most necessary day-to-day services for public works, recreation, as well as facets of public safety upon which all residents depend. And also for kind of a relatable context, your typical monthly bills for technology cost more than the town's general governmental services for the month. Like if you figure an average household, $295 for your cell phone, television, and internet, for that same month for DPW, your general governmental services here at Town Hall, as well as library services, you're spending about $48 a month. That's keeping our roads plowed, paved, parks maintained, programs, activities at the Penfield Community Center. The tentative budget for fiscal year 2024 totals $22,981,961. Once again, we are well below the tax levy cap required by the comptroller. $474,000 is the estimate will be below our levy cap. This budget appropriations are approximately $915,000 higher than 2023. However, that does not equate to that much on the tax levy. Obviously, it's only a $22,000 increase on the actual levy. This increase is largely due to capital improvements and large equipment purchases. And once again, as I said, we are well under our levy cap and continue to be so for many, many years. As far as the distribution of the budget dollar, as the town is primarily a provider of services to the residents, the largest percentage of the budget is appropriated towards employee payroll and benefits. The allocation for contracts and consumables is the next largest piece, followed by equipment and capital outlay, and a small piece for debt service. That equipment and capital outlay totals $2,827,000 estimated for next year, which includes DPW heavy equipment, parks enhancements and improvements, as well as facility improvements. Computer components is our annual road program, sidewalks, sewer slip lining, just about everything you can think of. As far as our major department distributions, the Department of Public Works is estimated to receive approximately $11 million, which is about 48% of the overall budget. The Penfield Public Library, which is very, very popular, will get $2,089,000, which is approximately 9% of the budget, and our allocation to our Recreation Department is about 5% of the budget at $1.1 million. Our 10-year taxable value, we did see a slight increase in our taxable value going into our 2024 budget. You can see it is in people investing in their homes, investing in properties in Penfield as a desirable place to live. It is a slight increase above 2023. And a summary of the tentative general governmental budget for fiscal year 2024. Our general governmental totals $20,224,572. That's and with an estimated revenues at just over $10 million at 10.1, and a fund balance contribution from the general fund, the highway restricted fund balance, and the library fund balance totaling $952,000, resulting in a tax levy of $9.17 million. And if you equate that to our taxable assessment, your tax rate will remain at $2.10 per thousand for 2024, as we were in 2023, no increase on the tax rate. As I said, that rate for a typical town in Penfield assessed at $277,000. Your tax bill for general governmental services will be just under $581. Non-tax revenues for 2024, the $10,212,310, that is an increase over 2023's estimated. We are continuing to see strong growth in sales tax and interest rates. Though this is the side of the budget, and I think I go through this every year, that we are the most conservative because revenues is the side we have very little control over. So we are conservative on our budgeting of revenues. However, I do expect to see greater revenues in 2024. The special districts, our sanitary sewer operations and maintenance per unit is estimated to be $59.76, with the debt service portion of $32.98. That gives us a total of $92.74, which is actually less than 2023. And this is the 6th year in a row our sewer rate has decreased. What we do, however, as our debt service on sewers is paid off, we put some of that money up towards operation and maintenance, because obviously the infrastructure we invest in, we want to keep it going, so we continue to maintain it. Continue with the special districts, our drainage rate is estimated to increase approximately 10 cents for 2024. Our townwide drainage maintenance, while it adheres to all federal and state stormwater regulations and consists of our extensive retention and detention ponds, as well as our creeks and surface drainage. So that there is a slight increase in that, but it is important to maintain our drainage system. Our lighting rate will remain essentially flat for 2024, as will the intensified lighting district also will remain flat for 2024. Overall summary, as I mentioned, $22,981,961, the 10.2 coming from non-tax revenue, our fund balance contributions of $367,000 from our highway reserve fund, which is for the purchase of a 6-wheeled plow truck and a tracked skid steer for our DPW. These purchases were anticipated for 2024 as part of the DPW's multi-year equipment plan. And again, the total tax burden for 2024 is going to increase slightly by over 2023 to a total of $11,746,811. As the supervisor mentioned, our timeline as we are here today, this is the tentative budget presented to the town board for their review and any changes they want to make to that as they develop the preliminary budget, which will be finalized by September 19th and filed at the town clerk's office. That October 4th will be the public hearing on the 2024 preliminary budget, where public comments will be welcomed and received. Between October 5th and October 27th, the town board will review all comments and develop the final budget. And on November 1st, the town board legislative meeting, there will be the adoption of the final 2024 budget. And this presentation, as well as the tentative budget document that was presented to the town board tonight, is available on our website.
Thank you very much, Barbara.
Thank you.
Appreciate
I
it.
look forward to working together again over the next few weeks to get things finalized for the preliminary.
Thank you. Us too. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right. So moving on tonight, I guess I'll give Carrie Ivers, our
play musical
Director of
chairs for a moment.
Development, a chance to get over to the computer. So one thing I just wanted to give a little brief on this. Welcome everyone here. I know we are now going to be opening up the public hearing on the 2023 comprehensive plan update. And I just wanted to let everyone know with the public hearing meeting tonight, we're moving forward to finalize this plan, which will provide the framework for future public and private investment within our community for the next decade or so, really. The development of this updated plan has been led by the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, made up of members of our community, which I don't know if I see any here tonight, along with many of our staff members. I know Doug Sangster's here tonight. Carrie Ivers has been instrumental in putting in the countless hours of work, hard work to get us where we are today on this, as well as the committee people that have worked on this. The final draft plan of this not only reflects all their hard work, but also the feedback from you and from the community, including what was received during a public hearing back in July. And this plan focuses on preserving our rich history and open land in our community while allowing for our continued well-planned growth, which we all hope to have for many years to come. As we sit here today, our town is fortunate to have over 1,000 acres of parkland, along with roughly 1,200 acres of open space. And we look forward to using this plan as a guide to build on this progress and to move Penfield forward in a smart and sustainable way. So I appreciate everyone taking the time to attend this comprehensive plan tonight, and I will turn this over to Carrie Ivers for the plan overview for us.
Thank you. We just have a quick presentation we thought it'd be helpful for the public watching at home and the public that might be here.
And I do need
did you
to
wanna-
do the legal portion of this.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
Take 1 minute. To consider adoption, as Debbie said, of the 2023 Comprehensive Plan Update. The legal notice was published in the Webster Herald August 23rd, 2023, posted on the town's website and town clerk bulletin board. No postcards were mailed due to this being a town-wide action.
And is this public hearing in order?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. Now I turn it over to you, Carrie. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And I cannot take any credit for this document. This has definitely been a team effort. Doug and I have spent many an hour together going through comments, going through the document, and so it's been a labor of love for sure. We just going to go over a few basic things for anybody who might not be familiar with a comprehensive plan. This is the first time hearing it. A comprehensive plan is really a community-based document that identifies an overall direction for a community. It recommends actions related to current and future needs. It also provides the legal framework for future land use and zoning decisions. And it also provides a sense of direction for future investment, both from the public and the private sector, about the general how and where the community should head. It's aimed at looking at long-range protection, enhancement, growth, and development of the town. It looks at a wide range of topics, and it really varies from community to community. And it serves as a resource for future funding and grant-seeking efforts. Almost every funder wants to know that the idea that you're proposing came from a community-backed planning effort. And it's a living document that's used and referenced during decision-making until the next time it's updated. I think it's also important to talk about what a comprehensive plan is not. So it's not a collection of highly prescriptive or specific instructions. It's broad in nature. It's intended to address it's not intended to address one specific geographic area or a specific issue for community. It's a document that should not be put on the shelf and just never talked about again. And it's not a new zoning regulation or a new zoning map. It's a future for the direction, but it's not putting those things into place. The comprehensive plan is outlined in state law. It's not required to be adopted. However, the law does encourage preparation and adoption of a comp plan, and most public funding sources want to know that the program or project was based on a comprehensive plan that's been adopted by a community. So for many reasons, even though New York State doesn't mandate it, it's really an important process for every community to go through. And I think Penfield's had a long history of doing regular updates to their plan. Initially, just as an overview, the draft initial release of the public document was in April and May. A public hearing was conducted in July. Revisions have been made and were released in August. And then we're here tonight to hear comments on that latest revision. Mm-hmm. Between May and now, there's a wide range of minor edits to grammar and sentence structure, maybe making some references more user-friendly or readable, made substantive changes to several of the policy areas. We modified the implementation section to reflect the policy changes and to more clearly convey the town's intent to monitor the plan's implementation over time. And then we provided examples of and references to local organizations and neighborhood groups throughout the document where it was appropriate and helped to, really explain things better. So some of the key topics would be agriculture. We modified recommendations related to renewable energy production and added references to future open space planning efforts. In natural resources, we added more defined Tree City USA information and programmatic goals. In sustainability, we added information and priorities related to the town's climate resiliency efforts and participation in regional and state climate action efforts. And we modified language related to sustainability practices and green infrastructure. And in future land use, we added descriptors to the land use categories, added new section that addresses future zoning and land use planning initiatives. So tonight's the public hearing. And then from here, the town board will review any additional comments received this evening and through written comments that have been received to date. The town board's going to continue with reviewing the seeker, that's State Environmental Quality Review Act. Okay. That's a required step before any adoption activity can take place. We've got to do the environmental review. And then once the town board's ready to formally adopt, that would be added to a future legislative session.
Thank you. Thank you.
Carrie, can I clarify? I know that for the substantive changes that were made, we had the dates of May to August, and I think that's from the first hearing, but we've, some of the changes, like particularly to the sustainability provisions, and I think we've received input from Penfield Color or Color Penfield Green and other interest groups. But I just want to make clear the comments additional comments that were received in the last 2 weeks are not reflected in this document. They're not reflected.
So the comments that were reflected in the August revision were based on the July hearing and the comments received up until I think it was July 19th. So those revisions from August reflect changes up until that time.
Right. Okay.
So any additional edits or changes that are going to be made would be made between now and when the final version of the plan is adopted by the town board.
Thank you. So I wanted folks, before they participate in the public hearing, to know that those that have been received since that cutoff date are not reflected here. It's not that they're not being ignored. It's just, it's saved for the next iteration after this hearing closes. Thank you.
Correct. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So that being said, I believe there's several people that have signed up to speak at this hearing tonight, Madam Clerk.
Yes. Katie Rigg.
Katie? Hi, Katie.
Hello. My name is Katie Rigg, and I live on Dundas Drive in Penfield. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight about this latest draft of the comprehensive plan. First off, I'm very grateful to see some of the changes Color Penfield Green suggested in July have been incorporated into the document. You clearly heard our concerns and addressed many of them. There is now a stronger commitment to working with the state and county to fulfill their climate action plans, and these are broad, ambitious, and they meet the urgency of the challenge. In the previous draft, there was no acknowledgement of climate change at all, so the new draft is certainly an improvement. But the term climate resiliency is used a little too broadly. It's, in addition to being used as a synonym for adaptation, which is so critical, it's also being used in place of mitigation and reducing emissions, and those two things are not the same, and we need to be doing both, of course, but we just feel like climate resiliency needs to be with adaptation and then separate those two efforts. I'm very excited to see proposed action number 16 in the resiliency section on page 71. The town will explore climate action planning activities and consider local policy changes or additions to support climate resiliency. So yes, to a climate action plan. And the timeline is currently blank, and I would like that to be short-term or ongoing, designated in the timeline section. I'm not sure if I'm clear on that.
I'm sorry, that might have just been an unintended omission, but thank you for pointing it out.
Thank you. And then there are quite a few suggestions that we made that were not taken, so we will work with various boards and committees to make them a reality in the future. It sounds like they were too specific for the scope of this document. But there is one more item that we would love to see included in the town's comprehensive plan, a commitment to evaluating progress at least every year. There's a long list of proposed actions, many of which are near and dear to us. Without implementation, that list is meaningless. So we need a transparent system to evaluate that implementation and keep Penfield moving forward. Thank you again for the opportunity to participate in this process.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Florence Jessup.
Florence Jessup on Atlantic Avenue, just down the street. I also want to thank all of you for the work that you have done in incorporating feedback from the comprehensive plan. I'm a person who responded via email, and it was shorter than 10 pages. My comments are similar to Katie's in that while I very much appreciate seeing the changes that have already been made about climate change, they are what I think of as in the passive voice. We will consider that kind of terminology. I would like to see a more active voice. I noticed the same as Katie did about the implementation date being missing. Also had the same concerns about the use of the term climate resilience. I read the general tone as we're going to cope with climate change as it hits us, rather than taking active steps to do what we can to reduce our impact on the climate. Again, though, thank you for all the changes that have been made. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Florence.
So I have several others, but it seems to be they're checked off for public participation. So was any of these for the public participation for the public hearing?
For this public hearing. For the comprehensive plan.
The comprehensive.
On the comprehensive plan. So I do have an email.
Sure.
So the email I received is from Donna Spinelli. She wanted this to be read into the record. Sure. Okay. This is from Donna Spinella, and she wanted this to be read into the record. It touches upon 3 components she feels are still most in need of modification for the 2023 plan update to adequately reflect Penfield's motto, Town of Plan Progress. In regards to agriculture, This section should include a larger number of more forward-thinking recommendations, such as 1, broader and more robust educational programs for both suburban and urban area residents. Number 2, exploring alternative, less labor-intensive, and more resilient crop production. And 3, in coordination with other regional entities, marketing vulnerable ag land to agriculturalists from other parts of the U.S. In regards to sustainability, it was good to see that some comments from the July hearing were incorporated into the August draft, but more work remains. Number 1, recognize climate change as the underpinning of our sustainability efforts. 2, provide more, newer, and fresher insights for sustainability, not just within town operations, but broadly within the town for adoption by residents and businesses. Number 3, modify the focus of the sustainability section to reflect the critical importance of avoiding, eliminating, and mitigating climate impacts, not just in developing resiliency strategies. And 4, phase in green building code requirements for all new construction in Penfield. And then lastly, in regards to shadow pines, 1, there are 3 largely redundant narrative portions describing shadow pines. Follow the recommendations I presented in my detailed document that calls for replacing 2 of the 3 with more user-friendly documents, including a larger map. And number 2, recognize the impact of the dolomite quarry, both currently and in the future. And she thanks the town board for its consideration.
Thank you, Amy. Is there anyone that did not sign up for this public hearing on the comprehensive plan update that would like to speak tonight on that? I'm not seeing anything on the website come in, or Brian downstairs, anything on 340?
Might have a hand up over here.
Oh, I'm sorry. So there is. Mr. A.J. Hetzke, would you like to come up and speak? Thank you. Have a seat up there.
Good evening, everybody. My name's A.J. Hetzke. I live at 14 Silver Fox Drive. And I'm also the chairman of the planning board. And I just want to take a moment to thank the town board and the comprehensive plan committee. I know that this update was a challenge with COVID and all the challenges that brought. And our staff works tirelessly. I know, based on my 25 plus years of being active in the town, it's our staff goes way above and beyond in their professionalism, in their attention to detail. Yeah, are things, is everybody perfect? No, but I can't say enough about the town staff. So I just wanted to thank the committee, the Comprehensive Plan Committee, for all their hard work, and the staff, and good luck.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, AJ. And by the way, thank you for your contributions to the planning board. So 28 years is a lot of years, so thank you very much for your service. Seeing no one else, that I will close. Going once, going twice. I think that's it. I will close this public hearing for this evening. Again, comments can still be received up to, so please send your emails, comments in for any discussion, future that you'd like to make sure that we know about. We'll take this through the September 19th, or
We'll discuss, I think, any additional changes or edits at the next work session.
on September 19th, correct?
The 20th.
I'm sorry,
20th, I
September
believe.
20th, so we'll be discussing them then there, right? Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you, Carrie, and staff, Doug, Mark Valentine for all the work on this you've done. Thank you so much. Okay. So now we're to communications and announcements this evening. So I will start with our town clerk, Ms. Steckloff.
Thank you, Mrs. Supervisor. Or Madam Supervisor.
Fine.
Okay, school tax collection for 2023 has begun, as we all know, with tax bills having been sent out August 31st. If you don't receive your bill by September 8th, contact the tax office at 340-8625 or visit www.monroecounty.gov for a printed copy. Dates that are important to remember. Obviously, September 1st, we started collecting. October 2nd is the deadline for full tax payment without interest. And then on October 31st, that is the last day of the school tax collection. Also, applications for DMPs, Deer Management Permits, they went on sale on August 1st. The application period runs through the close of business on October 1st. All hunters that are licensed, they're from age 12 or older, and they can apply for DMPs. And there is a $10 non-refundable application fee for all applicants. And as always, if you have any questions, please give me a call at 340-8629, or you can also call the Department of Environmental Conservation, although I probably pick up quicker, dec.ny.gov/outdoor, or 1-866-472-4332. And last communication I have is regarding the Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf. It's currently seeking new volunteers to participate in their Adopt a Shelf program. This commitment requires individuals to dedicate 3 or 4 months per year and contribute around 20 items per month. These items are such as mustard, jelly, hamburger helper. And if you are interested in helping, please refer to the Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf, PEFS, website at www.penfieldecumenicalfoodshelf.com for more information.
Thank you very much. Councilman Ockenden.
Thank you. I do have several tonight. I'll start out with Tasting the Blues. Join us for the Town of Penfield's final amphitheater event of the year, Tasting the Blues. It'll be taking place on Saturday, September 23rd, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Penfield Amphitheater and Kiwanis Stage inside Veterans Memorial Park. This event promises an unforgettable afternoon of blues music. Enjoy the soulful tunes of Steve Grills and the Roadmasters, featuring the legendary Benny Turner. And that's not all. You can enjoy a range of scrumptious food options. And for beer lovers, there will be opportunities to taste locally brewed beer. Additionally, you can showcase your chili tasting abilities in our chili competition and participate in the judging process. Don't miss out on this fantastic event. It's the perfect way to close out the amphitheater season in style. So mark your calendars again, Saturday, September 23rd. Hope to see you there. Next up, the DPW will be holding an open house at their headquarters here on Jackson Road. The date will be October 14th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Again, it's located here at 1607 Jackson Road. There'll be more details available on our website at penfield.org. But plan to stop by, take a tour of the current facility, and of course, bring the young ones with you, as they'll get an opportunity to see some amazing equipment there as well.
Yeah.
Notice on milling and paving, I'm sure you've noticed there's been quite a bit of work being done around 5 Mile Line Road. We do have some additional county work that's coming up. The Monroe County DOT has announced a milling and paving project on Wayland Road, scheduled to take place from September 11th to September 22nd. This will be between 5 Mile Line Road and Route 250. There'll be several phases to this project. The first will be milling of the existing surface. Following that, there'll be some temporary markings, some traffic loop repairs and drainage adjustments. And then the final top course of paving will be between September 18th and September 20th, with the final markings applied on September 22nd. It's important to note these dates are tentative, and scheduling changes may occur due to weather, et cetera. The DOT, Monroe County DOT project team is striving to minimize disruptions, especially as our school year begins, so please be aware that this work will be going on. Any questions about this project, you're encouraged to contact Monroe County DOT at mcdot@monroecounty.gov. Household hazardous waste collection. The Monroe County Department of Environmental Services is working with the towns of Penfield and Webster to arrange a household hazardous waste collection event at the Webster Highway Garage, 1005 Picture Parkway. The collection will take place at between 7:45 a.m. and 12 noon. This will be on September 16th. Hazardous waste typically includes paint, flammable materials, and various chemicals that are commonly found in households. While these substances can be safe when used and stored appropriately, they can become a hazard to the environment when not disposed of properly. Residents will need to make an appointment to participate in this collection event. Appointments can be scheduled up until September 15th. To book an appointment, you can visit www.monroecounty.gov/Echo Park, ECOPARK. Let's see, the scheduling of these appointments will be available between 7 a.m. and 3:30 Monday through Friday. Although this collection event is open to all Monroe County residents, it is essential to note that waste from businesses will not be accepted. To ensure the safe disposal of household hazardous waste, please make an appointment today and help reduce waiting times. And then last but not least, the Penfield Volunteer Ambulance will be holding a health fair on September 30th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. right here at the Penfield Ambulance Base at 1585 Jackson Road. The event is free and open to the public, so please bring your family along. The fair will feature various attractions, including ambulances, fire trucks, New York State Police, the roll car. If you haven't seen that before, that will be on display, showing the importance of seatbelts. The mobile stroke unit will be there, Penfield High School robotics, and many more. For a complete list of participating health and wellness vendors, you can visit www.penfieldambulance.org.
Fire trucks. I
There'll be
bet
fire
I know
trucks
somebody
there.
who'd bring a
Yep.
fire truck over there.
There'll be some there.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Councilman Ockenden. Councilwoman Kohl.
Thank you. I have several announcements as well. The first one being the Penfield Trails Committee guided hike at Channing Philbrick Park will take place on Saturday, September 9th at 9 a.m. They're going to go through the park at one linear park drive. This park is scheduled September 9th from 9 to 11. The park is situated along Arundecoit Creek and holds historical significance to Penfield. Participants will meet up at the upper parking lot and should keep an eye out for hike signs to locate the group. The hike is open to all ages, with the recommendation that children under 16 be accompanied by an adult. It's important to come prepared with appropriate footwear, such as hiking boots or shoes, as the terrain can occasionally be steep and slippery. Pre-registration is encouraged by going to Penfield Recreation website at penfield.org/hike. Lastly, if you're interested in getting involved in supporting the Penfield Trails Committee, they're always looking for volunteers to join their planning committee and assist with trail maintenance. For more details, you can contact Penfield Recreation, 340-8655, extension 0. And the Bri Penn Senior Rides, they're looking to make a difference in their community. Join Bri Penn Senior Rides for the Volunteer Open House. It's happening on Thursday, September 14th, from 2:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Penfield Community Center. This event is ideal for individuals who are interested in volunteering, whether it's driving seniors or working as a dispatcher. You can choose your level of involvement and make a positive impact in the lives of others. The open house will provide valuable information about the organization, its mission, and how you can contribute to it. More information, go to the facebook.com/Bri Penn Senior Rides. Now, Bob mentioned the Tasting the Blues. Another part of that day is Dog's Day Out. Join us on Saturday, September 23rd from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. at Veterans Memorial Park behind the Town Hall. The event highlights are games and activities for your dogs and the owners, vaccinated and friendly dogs only. Leashes are required. And come and enjoy a fun day with your furry friends. Why did they give me this too, right?
I know.
You know, the dog person, right?
The dog.
And my final one is something close to me. It's the Penfield Community Bike Drop, Saturday, October 7th. Penfield Community Bike Drop event is October 7th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Penfield Community Center. It's organized by Penfield Recreation and Penfield Rotary. They collect used bikes for our community bikes, which repairs and provides bikes to needy individuals in Rochester for transportation, work, and recreation. Drive-through drop-off is available, and it's free and open to the public. For more information, go to ourcommunitybikes.net. But if you want to bring a bike, call Penfield Recreation. They have a place to put some if you want to do it early. And if there's someone that wants to have a bike picked up, one of our volunteers for Penfield Rotary or Penfield Recreation or our community bikes will be able to come over to your house and pick it up. But we just have to know ahead of time. And I would go through the Penfield Recreation, 340-8655 for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Kohl. Councilperson Lee.
Thank you. Good evening. The Friends of the Penfield Public Library is hosting their annual used book sale from September 12th through the 16th. It will be Friends of the Library members only on Tuesday, the opening day of the sale. Membership can be purchased for a nominal fee at the library or at the circulation desk or at the door of the library. And then the sale opens to the general public on Wednesday the 13th and until Saturday the 16th. Please bring your own reusable bags for the purchases, and times for those days can be confirmed online. On Sunday, September 17th, the Mary Cariola Center is again hosting their Walking on Sunshine fundraiser at Veterans Memorial Park. It's a fantastic event that hosts a large number of vendors and families, and it's one of their largest fundraisers. The Mary Cariola Center provides community services and various therapies for children and young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Proceeds from this fundraiser will go to support their programming, connect families with social work and other services. They're fantastic. Karen Zandy, their CEO, has really been bringing a lot of energy to that group, so it's a great event to participate in. On September 29th and 30th, Penfield is hosting residential drop-off recycling days. This is different than the hazardous waste materials that's going to be at the Webster DPW facility this year. This is for metals, appliance recycling, brush disposal, no leaves or grass, but clothing donations, linen donations, and other secure document destruction will be available at the Penfield DPW facility on the 29th and 30th. Lastly, the Quarry Open House will be hosted by Dolomite Group on Saturday, September 30th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be tours of the quarry, rock painting, food trucks, and other safe fun for the family. We've been talking a lot about the quarry as part of the comprehensive plan, and this is just going to be a great opportunity to kind of see it in person and in a safe manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I have just a couple announcements here. One, I just need to give a huge big thank you to the members of our Town of Penfield Highway Department. Eric Tate is our director there, and his crews were out there yesterday, as well as Mendon, Rush, and Ogden, for helping to complete the Monroe County DOT paving project on 5 Mile Line Road yesterday. Again, we appreciate the cooperation of all the community as we continue to work to partner with the county to improve our roads here in the town of Penfield. So a big thank you, because that was they started bright and early so that they would be done before the official start of school today. So and that was a big relief to know that they were done, and it's beautiful, and ride down anywhere from the high school all the way down to 5 Mile Line to 441. So it's a nice new road. Next, I have the Penfield Art Association. Their fall show is coming up, and that will be, it's an exciting new event, paintings created by our talented members. And this showcase is part of the Autumn Art Show and Sale hosted at the Legacy at Willow Pond. These exhibits are going to be from Sunday, October 1st to Saturday, October 28th. The opening reception for this is is going to be on October 1st from 3 to 5 p.m., and the closing reception concludes on the October 28th with awards presentation from 1 to 2 p.m., which I will be there. And daily viewing hours of the exhibit is accessible between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. at the Legacy, again, at Willow Pond, and that's 40 Willow Pond Way in Penfield. Just an announcement to let you all know that beginning Monday, September 11th, the Jack's Place Playground at Rothfuss Park will be closed for routine maintenance and updates. This closure is expected to last approximately 1 week. So during the closure, the Town of Penfield Parks Department will paint and clean the playground while replacing and completing other needed repairs there. Should you have any questions or concerns, please contact our Parks Foreman, Tim Masterton, at 340-8712. Thank you for your patience in that. And I'm excited to tell you that there's going to be a public information. The Penfield Town Board has recently approved the renewal of the town's community choice aggregation program with new fixed rates set to go into effect on December 2023. Good Energy will continue to serve as our program administrator, and Constellation New Energy will remain our energy supplier. For those interested in learning more about the program and its updates, a public information session is going to be scheduled for Monday, September 18th at 6 p.m. Good Energy will conduct this session, which will take place right here in the Penfield Town Hall Auditorium. If you cannot attend in person, a session will be live streamed by the Penfield Community Television. For additional details or inquiries, you can visit the official website at www.penfieldcca.com or contact them at 310-0236. And then lastly, I just need to give a big shout out here. I had the privilege of celebrating the 101st birthday of our local resident, and there she is, Marianne Albergo, at the Heathwood Assisted Living facility. I stopped by, read a proclamation, and enjoyed some great music. And Marianne's only request to me was that I come next year when she's for her 102. So I thought that was great. So happy birthday! I've told her, we put her on TV. Happy birthday, Marianne. So thank you. And with that, that's the end of announcements. We're to our next session on the agenda, which is public participation. There's 3 ways to speak here tonight: in person, which I'm sure many of you have signed up to do or would like to do, by phoning us at 340-8771, or you can also reach out to us online at www.penfield.org. And with that, I will turn it over to our clerk, because I believe there's a number of people signed up to speak this evening.
Yes, I have people signed up, and I also have emails, and then something came up from PCTV.
Thank you.
First person I have is Julie Lewis.
And if you'd just like to come up to one of the microphones in the front, any one of the 4.
Good evening. I'm Julie Lewis, and I live on Jackson Road. First, I'd like to thank the town board and the town staff for the continued work on the development of the Shadow Pines property. Balancing the different wants of our community is no easy task, and one I personally wouldn't want to take on. So I appreciate all that effort that you guys have put into it. I enjoy playing pickleball, and I would love to see 10 or more courts at Shadow Pines. I'm also a nature lover who is grateful for the board's work to reduce the number of mature trees that would be affected if the revised plan moves forward. I do have a question about the court construction and a comment on the landscape plan. I had heard that in one of the last proposals, it didn't include the proper construction for the courts, the specifications. So I'm wondering if you could verify that they're following like the guidelines from USA Pickleball, who is the national governing body for pickleball. And in regards to the landscaping, I know the plan includes adding a number of trees, and I was looking for confirmation that the landscape specification included as part of any bid would call out that all of these trees be native species and that the majority of them be keystone species. Again, thank you for your time and attention to the Shadow Pines development work.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie, very much. Appreciate that. Really.
Mark Banford.
Mark Banford, good evening.
Debbie Drawe, thank you. Dougloff is a familiar name, too.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. My name is Mark Banford, and I work for the Town of Penfield for over 20 years. And I am a racket sports instructor, pickleball and tennis instructor. And I'm very passionate about pickleball. I've got the
uniform.
The pickleball uniform. And I'm here to advocate for putting in 16 courts at the Shadow Pines. And I think it would be a real jewel for Penfield to have a significant location for the pickleball players to come to Penfield. As I've been teaching over the last few years, I teach kids, and they all know about pickleball. And the high schools, and I think all the schools are teaching pickleball. All the kids are familiar with it. I do clinics for groups over at Harris Wayland, and I also run leagues. And the growth of pickleball, I've experienced it firsthand. I'm there, and I just don't see any stop to it. Eventually, it'll be an Olympic sport. I mean, there's over 70 countries that play it. I think that really there's a lot of things that we could do at the facility. Putting pickleball lines on tennis courts is really not the official sport format for the game, and having pickleball courts at the Shadow Pines location would be really a great thing for the community, as I've seen. So I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Jane Grace Taylor.
A pickleball injury.
Uh-oh.
Playing too hard.
Oh.
Okay. I sent enclosed a letter, and I believe it's been read into the record.
It hasn't, if you're talking about the one that you sent on September 5th, asking me to read it into the record, that would be today if you still want me to read it.
Oh, yeah, that would be great if you would also read that one, because it's a little more coherent than what I'm about to say, but
Jane,
anyway.
Can you give us your address again?
624 Gravel Road in Webster.
Thank you.
I travel every day to Fellows Park to play on a real court, and recently Webster added 4 real pickleball courts. They're not done yet. And part of the difference in playing on a real court is that you only need one ball. If you play on a tennis court that's been modified, then you're constantly running back, or you have to stop the game and run back and find the balls that have rolled way back to the end of the court. It's more tiring, it slows the game down, and with all the people waiting, it makes them wait longer. And so it's really exciting that you're building over at Shadow Pines, and I would willingly come the extra distance to play there, because the more courts there are, the more opportunity there is to mix with other players. And the more you mix, the more you can find people that play at your level and play more comfortably instead of just playing with whoever you can find local where you are. I'm concerned that I heard that you were going to cut back on the number of courts, and I think that you should consider that it will be more expensive to add these later. And the reason that I'm concerned is because I've watched, as a leader of a couple of the groups, one of the groups went from 150 to 450. Another group that I help organize went from 150 to 920. And every time I look, there are a few more names on it. I don't know where they're coming from, but they can add in. And Jim mentioned he went over to Fellows Park not too long ago to talk to people, and there was only one person he knew there. That's how many people are adding in. And this is a person who plays regularly, and he didn't know the people that were at the park. That's how many people are coming to the sport. So if it increased by 800% at Fellows, it increased by 800% since last summer, then it's going to keep going. It's not going to change. It's not going to suddenly stop. It's going to keep on growing. And that's why I'm concerned in seeing that you considered at first 16 courts and then cut it back to 12, and now we're talking 10. I think that at the very least 12 courts, and having them evenly balanced on each side of your divide in that diagram would be a better idea. And I hate to see them cut back and then later on need to try to add them piecemeal, which would be awkward and more expensive. The tennis lines that have been on most of the other courts in the area modified their courts, and they just added pickleball lines. This was great at first. It worked for me. But later I realized that it was slowing my game down. I couldn't really concentrate on the game and try to figure out which lines were tennis and which ones were pickleball. And when you're moving fast in the game, it's very hard to tell. The tennis players hate us too for putting lines on their courts. So we're looking forward to seeing these courts develop. Even if I play in Webster, I still come down to meet with friends that I've made in all the traveling from tournament to tournament and from court to court. I've met a lot of people. I like to go and see them, and I know I'll be traveling from one court to the other, as a lot of people do. And I just want you to know that we appreciate what you're doing, and we intend to respect the court. I have to mention again that like 60 people were at Fellows not too long ago playing, and the next morning I just expected to see some rubbish or something laying around, and there was just nothing. I was there quite early in the morning, and there was nothing there. The park was pristine as they had found it. So I think that you're talking about a respectful group, and I don't think that you'll be sorry, in fact, for doing this. And someone mentioned, I noticed online, that it has increased the value, property values for people to know that there are pickleball facilities in the area. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Jane. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I know there's a lot of people that would like to speak, and I know we would probably like to keep that to under, 3 to 5 minutes if we could. Thank you very much. That's okay. I didn't say it ahead of time, but I just wanted to make sure everybody gets a chance to talk. We have a big agenda tonight. Thank you.
Deborah Davis.
Hello, Deborah.
Hi, thank you. I'm Deborah Davis. I live on Corwin Road, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Shadow Pines and not pickleball. I have nothing against pickleball, but I really have a lot about preserving green space. So I know it seems late. I've been there. I've seen the stakes in the ground by the trees that will be cut down, but I just implore you to consider destroying this beautiful green space.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah?
I don't think folks in the back can hear you.
Oh.
Yeah, if you could.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just ask that you consider Rothfuss Park. I understand that 2 town supervisors ago, they made a comment that it was too windy. That does not seem like enough of a documentation to disqualify a site for pickleball. So I would ask that the town release the documentation and the studies that were undertaken several years ago why Rothfuss Park is not a good place for pickleball. There's no trees there. There's a parking lot there. There's playgrounds there. There's restrooms there. There's a picnic area there. And there would be such a minimal impact to add pickleball there. So I would be very interested in seeing the documentation that was used to disqualify that. And if you could put it on the town website, I would appreciate that.
Well, I can answer that question. There was no town study done on that. So there's nothing to put on the website on regarding that. And that was before this board. So that was a prior town board, town supervisor.
That leads to a really good point, is perhaps that should be reconsidered and that site should be evaluated, because this is a big change to the town. We have Shadow Pines, which I believe was designed to have low impact development. And if we haven't even looked at Rothfuss Park seriously, I know there's stakes in the ground by the trees, but there's no construction yet, so I would encourage the town to consider that. I think it would help residents who don't play this game understand why 7 acres of trees need to be cut down when right around the corner there's flat land that could easily house these. If the pickleball goes forward, I ask that you decrease the size. I don't understand why we would need a 100-car parking lot for 10 pickleball courts. That seems a lot to me, and I believe the other parking lot at the park is never filled up by the disc golf area. And I also ask that you consider fewer courts than the 10 that are currently proposed now, I believe, and maybe just 5 to preserve the green space. And I know that I have learned through this that pickleball is really noisy, so I believe people have said it's great that it's not in your houses, but I think it's important to remember that Shadow Pines has a lot of wildlife whose habitat will be destroyed by the destruction of 7 acres, but also like the constant noise of the pickleball. So if I was running a business, I would want to explore my options, and if we haven't even looked at Rothfuss and there's no documentation that doesn't work, that doesn't seem like very good business practice to me, so I would ask that you look at that before you go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Vicki Odenbach.
Hi, Vicki. How you doing?
Oh, no, you broke your arm.
Pickleball.
I'm sensing it.
Tonight.
I know, an injury. Yes, I think it might be. Well, there was an overhead, and I had to try to get it. So, Vicki Odenbach, 18 Shadow Pines, Penfield. So I've been here many times before. Mm-hmm. I won't address the whole Rothfuss Park, but obviously there were many reasons why that wouldn't work. Mainly, I just wanted to talk about today that, we've been here for so long, and talking about these courts and coming up with a plan and talking about the trees, and the trees were really
because as pickleball players, we also wanted to retain the trees and the natural habitat of the park. And so that seemed to be that you were listening to us doing that. But then with this new layout, the layout goes across and still you have to take out trees. So what I still can't get through my head, if you have an opportunity of land to put the courts down the old fairways without taking out trees, why you still insist on putting them crosswise where you're going to have to take more trees out. There is a way to put them in that land and not have to take out even the acres of trees that you're planting. We had a great start from where we were of taking out trees to where you are now. But it just seems that you listen to us to a point and then you do stuff and then nobody communicates, what do you think? Is this going to work? And then you come back, and not only do you put the courts across, so you have to take out some mature trees, but then you reduce the courts. When I agree, we've been talking about 16 courts. We reduced the footprint with taking out some of the wheelchair courts, not as many there needed, and the plan and moving the playgrounds, and it's coming together, and it's so close. But I just don't understand some of the logic with cutting down trees, cutting down 30-year-old trees to plant a 6-foot tree. It just doesn't make sense to me when you have the land, you have the opening, you have people doing plans for you that will lay it out the way you want it. So again, my big thing is trees, and more trees, leave them. Change your plan, put the courts in the fairway, leave the trees. We don't need all that land in between the courts with trees. We need the trees on the outside. It'll be great for people to be watching, but we don't need, I don't know if there's, 90 feet or something in between the courts, with the ones going across?
In the new plan.
Okay, so.
And we can tweak, that can be tweaked a little bit,
Yeah, but
yes.
tweak it down the fairway too, and then give us back some courts. This was, again, the courts were for the community, pickleball community, and the numbers are huge. And now you're reducing it. And so do it right now. Give us the 12 or the 16 back. The quantities of 4 are more conducive to when you run tournaments also, because it's just the way the numbers work out. The 4 courts are much better. And when you're talking about your comprehensive plan with the environment, leaving those mature trees is only a plus. So I just implore you to give us back the 12 or the 16 courts, and the playground, everything looks great. You're not cutting down the trees along Atlantic. Do that, and then my only other concern is that the pond down at the bottom is going to be right next to those courts. So I didn't know if the pond could be slid down too, so we don't have the mosquitoes right on, because it looks like the pond is going to be closer to those courts in that section. So the trees, everybody wants the trees. Nobody wants to cut down trees. So why are we cutting down? Cut down as few trees as we can and give us back the 12 or the 16 courts.
Okay. Thank you, Vicki. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
Sorry, can I?
Okay, so that is it for people who have signed up here today. I do have items to read. However, did you want to see if anybody else?
I wanted to see I would see in the audience if there's anybody who'd like to speak. I see Mr. Froome back there. I believe he'd like a chance to speak. Mr. Froome, I know 5 minutes is a little bit tough for you, but I actually spent, full disclosure, how many minutes on the phone with you today?
Part of an hour.
There you go. So
I'm not in an emergency ward. No, I will keep it as short as I can. It's hard because you've cut the meetings down in half, so we don't have a lot of choice to do some of this stuff. Since our conversation this afternoon, I had all these notes that I didn't get to finish, so I'm going to try to jump around and make some kind of sense. On the land clearing, my only comment is where you're staked out right now, if you stay within that, I'm all for that. If you do what was on the plan that you showed on the 16th of August, I think it was, it's not decisive where that edge is. It looks to me like it's going to bleed out into the western area, leaving those oak trees okay, but taking out the sycamore trees and a couple other ones. And so my only comment on that is if you stick to the state area as being the far west boundary, I think you did a good job.
Okay.
And thank you for keeping the tree line to the north. My only other comment on that is, again, I think for future growth and for the playgrounds, and if you wanted to have some playing fields, if you really consider that last layout I gave you, where you get the bathroom and the playgrounds near the old 4th Fairway, which runs along Atlantic, and then you have to the south where the pickleball courts are going to be in the parking, that's a 500-foot fairway, and it all drains down towards the cemetery there. So in my non-engineering way, it seems to me that it would be very simple to put the drainage pond to the south a little bit. And if you're going to expand to the south, you're probably going to want that, because from what I understand, the drainage pond is for when water runs off the asphalt. The other thing I wanted to do is just briefly touch on this, because I'm not going to get into all this, but all the courts are ADA compliant if you put a 3-foot gate, which you've done, at least was in the old bid specs and the pathways. And when I speak to you as inclusive, I'm including that, but I'm also including everybody that's in this room and anybody that plays pickleball from 5 years old to 95 years old. And that means having enough courts so during the drop-in period, which is your morning period when your courts are going to be the fullest, and dinner time the second fullest, you have enough courts so you can accommodate everybody. Because the beauty of drop-in, which I've tried to explain to you guys, is that I don't have to call anybody up to go play pickleball. Okay, I just go there every day, and some days I go to Ellison, some days I go to Victor, some days I go to Fellows. The beauty of that is the more courts you have, the more players you have. But I believe you went out with Mark, and you went to a couple places with 8 courts, and you saw a lot of people playing. When you went to Victor, you saw a whole lot of people, and I think you're going to read into the record something from the person that kind of runs the Team Reach group there in the club. They have generally 50 to 70 people there for 32 places. Okay, they're the best. They're one of the best places in town to go to. It's very well run. They supply balls. They take donations. We all kick in money. And yet, with all of that, they're not inclusive the way I'm talking to you about. Okay, they are inclusive, but if a beginner comes to play and they get beat up, they're not coming back, because all the courts. You put your paddle in a rack and the next 4 people go out. And if you're a beginner, you're going to get put in with some intermediates or some advanced intermediates, and you're going to either feel bad or get beat up. And you don't like that, so people don't come back. And that's why I'm guessing when you went to the new 4 courts out in Mendon Ponds, they probably weren't very busy, because people that go to 4 courts generally is where you call up a couple friends, say, let's go play, go find some courts, and you want to stay together. So that's, when I talk about being inclusive and having enough courts for that, that's what I'm speaking of, having enough courts. So, with the 10 courts that you've suggested, 2 for wheelchairs, which congratulations for taking it down from 6. 6 was a little bit overkill. But if you have 2 for wheelchairs, and I'm assuming if we have those courts, we'll start, I've never seen a wheelchair play in this town, but I'm assuming they'll come once you get the courts. So that means we're down to 8, so we're just like everybody else that has 8 courts, and we're not going to be inclusive across the board. And then the other thing I want to say about that is I've had one piece of hate mail on this project about, just give it up and take what you can get. And I've had a lot of people say, oh, we don't need all these because we have so many courts. I just want you to remember, when you see there are a lot of courts being built, okay? but most of them are private. And as you guys know, I mean, as you should know, is when they built the Y out here, we didn't do a rec center. And so now anybody that wants to do something like that, instead of having a free rec center or something, they have to pay $50 to $100 to go to the Y. Okay, we're talking about public courts. And if you have a whole lot of courts here and some private courts here, the public courts are where the big crowds are going to come. Skip. I'm going as fast as I can. Just a quick comment. I won't go through this whole section, but I know at the last meeting it was said we're downsizing because of the public comments, and what I heard at the last meetings was don't cut the trees. And I heard a couple people say, we don't want any courts. We want places for the deer to roam. I heard a couple of those. And I'd gone through I foiled the emails right after that May 3rd meeting, and so I've seen what comments. There's very few comments that are consistent. There's certainly way more people they're promoting pickleball. That is town property. We've gone over all this. We have the elder generation. This is kind of a no-brainer. So the gist of the most of this is what we talked about a little bit today. From what my understanding is that you're going to vote tonight to put that proposal out. And from my conversation with Mark, he said not everything's in stone. Things can be noodled around a little bit.
Yes.
So I'm going to address a couple things. Number one, I would like you to see to go 4 wide instead of 5 wide. And I'd like you to take, and again, Mark didn't disagree with me, but we don't know for sure. But if you take the courts that they have in the diagram, which on the previous ones, the regular courts were 40 feet wide. So if you take that measurement, it looks like the pavilion in the middle is, I think, 30 feet or maybe 40. But whatever, if you take the courts and go across there, it appears that you have 90 feet between the court banks. And I know we've been asking you for public space, but that's a little overkill. We do not need anything like that. I think if you go back to the drawing that I gave you earlier, I think we had a 20-foot pavilion in there and then 10 feet wide. So the wheelchair people could go back. You'd have plenty of room for the wheelchair. And then you have plenty of room for people to either be in the shade or sit in their chairs that they bring. And just another thing, I don't think you need to spend the money on all those benches outside the courts. Have a main gathering area, and then if people are going to come watch somebody at a court on the side or whatever, they're going to bring their own chairs. I don't think people are going to walk through the park and want to sit down on a bench and watch a couple old people play pickleball. But I mean, they're fine if you want to do it. I just think it's unnecessary. And by doing that, you've taken, if you go 4 wide instead of 5 wide, that's 40 plus maybe another 50 feet. You're about 90 feet in on the west, and then there's just no issues with those extra trees in there that may or may not be an issue. And it makes for a better layout for the pickleball people. And I guess to the gist of what I want to talk about is, what I don't understand is, there's been a lot of things said in your work sessions and in meetings that are either wrong, misleading, or a matter of interpretation. And we've offered, the pickleball community has offered to come to the meetings. And while we have met with you, we've never met with a work session in 2.5 years where we can answer your questions. And that's been frustrating. And then with this situation, you come up with a new plan 3 weeks ago, I guess it was, and you say, we're going to do 10 courts, okay? Now, for 3 years, it was 12 courts, and then the town took them to 15. Our pickleball group did not take them to 15. The previous town board did. And then it went to 16 2 years ago, just because if you can do 15, you might as well do 16 for the 4 courts, for tournaments and for revenue. And then if you wanted to have a larger revenue venue, 16 courts is what the pros want, okay? So you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, because I didn't go back, but I did watch I spent 3 days last week watching every public meeting that we've had. And I want to say between 4 to 6 times the boards, this board and previous boards, has voted on this project, okay? The master plan, and then to do this. Do we want to use ARPA funds? We've gone on and on and on. And I would like to point out that in all those votes, whether it's 4, 5, 6, or 20, the votes have been 5-0, 4-0, and the only vote that wasn't was on the ARPA funding when you were questioning you said, I'm not going to vote for this yet until we know if this is good use of the funds or proper use of the funds. So for all these periods, you've talked about 16 courts. And then all of a sudden we come up, so here we are today, basically saying, hey, if you don't want 10 courts, it could be 0, 10, or we can't do anything and wait for the new board. And that to me is preposterous, okay? I don't know why somebody can't take control of this thing and say, what do we want to do? It makes sense. If you don't want to do 16, I'm okay with 12, but 10 is just, it doesn't sit right because 10 is not going to be inclusive. 10 is not going to be the reason I came to this board 3 years ago and said, let's do this. We did it so we would have a place for everybody to go, beginners and everybody in between. So to put us in this position to say, well, if you don't like it, it's either all or nothing, what I'm going to ask you today to do is you guys figure out how to do it. Okay, you got a work session in 2 weeks. Go ahead and say, let's do it, but let's talk about how many courts we should have. Because it's not a money issue, I doubt. I understand prices have gone through the roof, but by cutting out the 15 or so acres you've done, the fact that you paid $300,000 or $250,000 to do two courts on relatively flat land over Rothfuss, I gotta believe you're saving hundreds of thousands of dollars. And for in the last meeting where you said back, and I got to read my notes to make sure I get this one right. Where did I put it? Guess I'll do this from, but you said we're going to cut back, okay? So you cut back the acreage, very good. You saved the trees, very good. Playgrounds are the same, bathrooms the same, parking lots the same. Oops, the pickleball courts have been cut down. And at the last meeting, you spent as much time talking about inclusive playgrounds as you did the pickleball courts. And that it seems something's out of kilter here. I don't know what's driving this train, why we're going back and forth and zigzagging, but I would like you to figure out a way to get it done. And if you don't want to do 16, at least do 12, because that, in my mind, is the only way we're going to get a facility where people are going to want to come to. I mean, I don't say they're going to come to anything you build, okay? But if you want to have an inclusive, which seems to be a big buzzword these days, we need 12 or more courts. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Is there anyone else in this audience that would like to speak that hasn't spoken before? Tiffany Rice, I believe. Would you like to come up?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Rice, 1237 Bay Road. I will be quick, I promise. Just a couple quick questions. Was there a cost-benefit analysis conducted at Shadow Pines to compare the proposed number of pickleball courts of 10 versus having 16? If so, I'd like to see it. I think that should be made public. How much money would potentially be made off of these courts if tournaments were there? No one wants to raise taxes, myself included, so we must get creative in our ways to bring more money into the town. Neurodivergent playgrounds. I love that, and I love that you championed it at the last meeting. I thought that was great. Do you have an idea of how many families in Penfield were asked about what features they'd like to see in the parks catering to their children?
We consulted groups, subject matter experts that provide those services and are well-versed in those areas,
Great.
As well as other families participate in those forums. So to answer your question, yes, those persons that would be receiving are in that space, did opine. Did we survey households by no?
Okay.
But I think what you're getting at is, was the subject matter expertise engaged? Yes.
Okay. And did they have anything to say specifically about that with the proximity of pickleball to these playgrounds, as neurodivergent children tend to be sound sensitive and they're right on top of each other?
I really don't want to get into a back and forth.
No,
but if
that's
you wanna
fine.
just-
But those were my
thank you
questions.
for
and
time.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Appreciate it.
I appreciate where you're coming from. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this? I believe someone's standing up right there. Okay, sir.
Hello, my name is Srinivasa Chakravarti. I am a Penfield taxpayer for 27 years. There is no question of reducing the number of courts. It should be 16, as promised and as proposed. The number of players each day, new players coming into the game, each play is going very high, very increasing. And we need some courts entirely meant for beginners. Beginners make a group of 4 people and they come and play, and they don't get intimidated by the better players. So I reiterate the demand that there should be 16 courts no matter what. Even if you cut down a few trees, it's fine, but 16 courts is a must. I have a question. Can you give me a date when you're going to start the work?
We haven't even agreed on to put this out to bid yet, to look for a potential who would, we haven't agreed on that yet, so voted on that, so I cannot tell you that.
So it is not going to be in the near future or during, before the deadline?
Before the end of?
Before December?
Before December?
Yeah.
You will not see this before. They would not be able to start work before this. I would not believe before the end of this year.
Okay, but at least a decision will be taken by September, October, right?
If
decision to start the work or?
To start the work. We, like I said, we have the next on the agenda tonight is to propose a BME to go out with a design for this full blown out project, and then for us to get bids back. I mean, that's we're talking months before we were to get the bids back, and you know, to be able to do, you know, we have to get how much this was going to cost and put it out to bid, and
at least by June of next year, 2024, we should be able to play pickleball in Shadow Pines?
I guess I would say probably next.
Probably unlikely.
Unlikely,
I mean, the next step, as she said, is to, we just have kind of concept drawings. So however many courts there are going to be, they have to go out and get engineered drawings that are the type that you'd go out to bid for. Then you go out to bid and you try to get people to bid on the contracts to do the construction work. And that depends on, you know, the season and, you know, how many bidders you get and what type of pricing you get. And, you know, probably would start construction in the spring maybe, but it's hard to tell at this stage. You know, you have to go through all those steps. You can't, a town is required to bid for these type of projects, and so we still are at a stage where we need to prepare the drawings that they can use to go out to bid.
Anyway, it's very frustrating and very stressful. In the last 3 years, we are talking about this project, and still we have not moved an inch on this. We are going back to the same, back in the loop, going back to the same position. And I hope everything works out well for you guys and we start the work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight on that, on this public participation on any item? Thank you. How are you? You'd like to just state your name and your address, please? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Barbara Sarah, and I live on Lazy Trail. I really didn't want to speak today, but I feel like the opposition is underrepresented here.
Okay.
I've been enjoying Shadow Pines for years. Its rustic charm, the trees, the animals, the sanctuary for the animals. It has a certain vibe that I never thought pickleball would really fit into this sort of picture. But here we are, and it looks like the ship has already sailed. And I appreciate the passion that people have about pickleball. Sorry, my voice is shaking.
That's all right.
I like pickleball too. I play pickleball actually. I play at Harris Whalen on occasion, or at the high school, and also here at the town hall. And I often thought, why not here at the town hall? There's plenty of space. You know, we've gone. Maybe this is stupid to even bring up now, but also Rothfuss, as somebody else mentioned earlier, seemed like an ideal location. I just hate to see Shadow Pines become Shadow Pines Pickleball Park. And pickleball is loud and obtrusive, and the handprint or the fingerprint for this project is quite large. I think there's a parking lot for 100 cars projected, and that I think the current parking lot serves about 150 cars. It's hardly ever full unless there's some sort of frisbee golf tournament. So I do think, I wonder why it has to be that many cars. Like, are we just planning tournaments or the Pickleball Olympics here in Penfield at Shadow Pines? I just don't see that as a good change. And once we make the change, we can't go back. You know, it's like that old song, Big Yellow Taxi, you know what I'm saying? It's just disappointing to me that it's gone this far. Also in the winter, because I know pickleball, I mean, you say you might play year-round, but really, we know the weather here. 6 months out of the year, maybe 7 months. And then the rest of the time, you just have concrete with ice on it just sitting there. And what about, like, you know, all the cross-country skiers and the snowshoers that I see with their dogs? And, you know, I go there every day during the winter as well. So I just wanted to voice my opinion, because I feel like there's a lot of people like me that are just busy raising kids, working, and they're not keeping up with this, and they're going to find out when they drive by whatever this starts, and they're going to see this construction, and they're going to be like, oh, I should have gone, or, you know, I didn't know, or that kind of thing. So that's just my opinion. And my husband also, he couldn't be here tonight. If the ship has already sailed, what about the driving range area? No trees, there's no drainage pond, mosquito concerns, and you could build as many courts as you want. 16, 12, or even 10 courts seems like so much to me, unless we're becoming a pickleball town. I don't, you know, like I said, I play and I enjoy it, and I appreciate the passion of the group, but I do think that, you know, special interest groups come together and do have that, which is great, but the rest of the people that are not really on board don't show up and voice their opinions, unfortunately. But that's it.
Thank you very much.
Barbara, could you spell your last name, please?
Yes, C-E-R-R-A.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Appreciate it. Jim, I want to get to everybody before I go to anybody second, please. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? The gentleman in the back there. That's you. That's you. No? I think we're...
I walked in, I just didn't want to walk in front of anybody.
No, that's fine. If you just want to tell us your name and your address, thank you.
Ryan Stark, 1 Piper's Meadow, right across the street.
Ryan, could you spell your last name, please?
S-T-A-R-K.
Thank you.
So I want to just, first of all, thank everybody for taking a reevaluation after the last time that this was brought out. I know there was a lot of concern around the cutting down of trees and clear cutting and everything. So I'm really glad that we reevaluated. That being said, I guess I'm going to kind of fall into the opposition side of this, which is years ago when the town came together and purchased this property, the idea was passive recreation. We don't want to see development in it. That was really the pushing force for it. And it feels as though ever since we purchased the property, the goal has been, we got to do something with it. We've got to figure out how to use it now that we have it. And I don't understand why we're not just saying, it's there, walk in it, enjoy it. It's nature, it's trees, it's foxes and deer and everything else that you see when you walk around. And we seem to really be focused on trying to develop it into something. Meanwhile, the barn is falling down because nobody threw a tarp over it. The Clark house is collapsing and is held up with 2x4s. And these are things that maybe would be a better use of money for development in it, because they're established facilities that are literally crumbling because we're not doing anything with them. And we just keep kicking the can down the road. We'll evaluate it, we'll look at it later, we'll come up with a plan for it. Meanwhile, every day that it sits there, it's collapsing further and it's going to increase the cost of repair. I've heard several people mention Rothfuss Park, a mile down the road, flat, open, no trees to cut down, 4 large parking lots, bathroom facilities already set, that if we're set on building pickleball facilities, Why is that not the target? We've already built the infrastructure for it. It's literally in the same zone. It's a mile down the road. It seems financially that would make more sense and would leave the Shadow Pines property alone. If we are committed in moving forward to usage of Shadow Pines, which we may already be, then what I would look for is at least a commitment on this part of the town to leave the south side alone. Right now, that is the side that at least is as close to natural as it's been. We haven't put in any facilities. We haven't put in disc golf. That right now is purely trail. So if we are going to move forward with something, which I would prefer not to, I would at least like a commitment to leave the south side natural. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for coming. So I have, not for you, sorry. Going to the next, I know that there's a gentleman on, Brian has on hold there on the line. Brian?
Yes, my name is Jay Coughlin. I'm almost a 50-year resident of Penfield. I can't believe we're continuing on this subject. I believe that let's kind of rule out for officers of park. It is flat and all that, but one of the problems with that park is one person said before, we wanted the trees up, one, to deafen the sound. If you put it over there, there's a lot of neighborhoods, and having a wide open space with pickleball courts, you're going to be having a lot of sound carrying over, and then you're going to have probably neighbors complain. Where they have a plan on Shadow Pines is perfect for the people that will not disrupt neighborhoods and all that. So keep it there, common sense. Second of all, keep lowering the amount of pickleball courts. Don't even build it. Why do a half job and nobody's happy? I think that the park is big enough right now to put a smoke ring in an area right now. That the wildlife will be supported by the other side of the land where it's a lot open. We're talking about closer to the road, and if you have animals that close to Atlantic Avenue and Jacksonville, they tend to go out on the road. So I'm just very frustrated that this keeps getting kicked down the can, and it'll probably keep getting deflated on the amount. So that's my comment for tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate your call. Thank you. Before I know that the clerk has a couple emails that have been requested to be read into the record. Amy, if you'd like to do that for us.
First one I have is from Wayne Spitz, a Penfield resident, Crimson Way. To the honorable members of the Penfield Town Board, I appreciate your diligent efforts towards establishing the Shadow Pines pickleball courts. However, I do not understand why the original approval for 16 courts has been downgraded to 10 courts. This seems short-sighted as the number of people of all ages participating in pickleball continues to grow. Please clarify for our community the rationale behind this decision. Then Jane Grace Taylor, Gravel Road, Webster. Let's see, I'm speaking on behalf of 922 players signed in on Team Reach to play at Fellows Park. Courts across the city have large numbers as well. They get by sharing time as best they can, but it's always a problem at peak hours. Although Fellows did a great job putting the courts together, they are quickly being outgrown by the pickleball population. Last evening, 36 players tried to play on 6 courts. They share with a paddle rotation, but when the numbers get higher and wait gets longer. It's like that every evening when people get out of work and school from 4 to 10 when the lights go off. The numbers are even larger, mornings 8 to 10 on weekends. One weekend, we had 36 waiting players. It was like that for hours. Many get discouraged and go home when they see the parking lot is full. Unfortunately, when the courts are too crowded, often people who leave are new or young players. They feel overwhelmed and discouraged by the sheer population. If there were at least 12 or the original number of 16 courts, people would be able to spread out with room for all levels. The advanced players could still come in large numbers, but the other levels and age groups would have room to come as well. Families with children would have ample space to play at peak hours when everyone is home from work or school or on school vacations. I stopped at a court at the local middle school the other day, and 3 of the 4 courts were full of kids playing pickleball. These are unrecorded and uncounted players who will be coming soon as well. Please, it will be harder and more expensive to add courts later when numbers have grown even more. Our group has gone from 100 to 920 in just 1 year. Every day more people join the Team Reach app so they can talk to each other and set up games. In Victor especially, it has become evident that the 8 courts they have are not anywhere near enough. Please reconsider the number of courts planned and restore the original 16. Sue and Tim Murphy from Coral Drive, Penfield. We just wanted to reiterate one of our comments that we shared in detail in our August 23rd letter to you folks. We think it's important that the active Old Castle Quarry be included in the comprehensive master plan update for its possible future uses or issues, and that the present zoning be changed to match its current use. Also, with the town's 2024 budget process underway, it would be a very positive step to also share the current capital projects list, for example, and not limited to the Clark House and Barn, a new DPW facility, town hall expansion, Shadow Pines development, and some prioritization relative to each other. Please, okay. Finally, please share the 2024 budget data not only in presentation and report format, but please provide the raw data on the town's website so it can be imported and reviewed in a spreadsheet so that meaningful questions can be formulated. Then I have Keith Shields. As the president of the Farmington Victor Pickleball Club, I wholeheartedly support the building of 16 pickleball courts at the Shadow Pines recreational area in the town of Penfield. 3.5 years ago, we started with 6 people at the Victor Recreation Center and 2 courts. Since that time, our group has grown to 961 members who play all over the greater Rochester area. We are fortunate that the town of Victor recognized the phenomenal growth of the sport of pickleball and converted seldom used, in disrepair, and in need of resurfacing tennis courts, 2 of them in Fisher Park, and put in 4 permanent pickleball courts while keeping 1 tennis court, which could accommodate another 4 pickleball courts using portable nets for a total of 8 outdoor courts. Every day we are scheduled to play at Fisher's Park. We are slammed with 50 to 75 players in the mornings and another 30 to 50 in the afternoon. Pickleball's popularity is not going away. It is a social phenomenon that people of all ages and walks of life enjoy and embrace. We have seen an influx of young people recently taking up the sport, and they are enthusiastic and dedicated to the fun and comradeship they have encountered. And then lastly, I have from PCTV today, James Mathers, also Penfield on Creek Hill Lane. He has comments regarding construction of pickleball courts. Number 1, I thought the Shadow Pines property was purchased to preserve green space within Penfield. I don't think cutting any trees down, paving for the pickleball courts, a parking lot, and sidewalks fits within that theme. I don't think any parcel of the land should be disturbed before a master plan is developed for the majority of the land. Number 2, the underutilized Rothfuss Park is the only logical location to place pickleball courts at this time. There is already open land, a parking lot, and restroom facilities. They're waiting for full utilization. And please don't tell me the wind conditions there would be an issue. It is less than a half a mile away. And number 3, I do not understand how the town board with a conscientious face could possibly spend $2 million of COVID relief funds to construct pickleball courts. The first tenant for spending these funds says they are to be used for revenue loss due to COVID-19 for provision of governmental services. How do pickleball courts fall into that bucket? That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. I know that there was somebody that would like to speak again. I know, Jim, I saw you that you liked, is it something new you'd like to say? Okay, something new, and you will be brief, right? We've been doing this for...
Brief as I can be.
Brief as, I know, but doesn't it count for that hour we spent today on the
I
phone?
will send you an email on the more detailed stuff.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Whoops, I wrote down my phone. Just, there's a lot of people that are saying, do it at Rothfuss. We've been down that road. There's a lot of reasons it was rejected 3 years ago. I personally wanted to do it by the barn because we thought we could help raise funds to rebuild the barn and have pickleball courts right there. Can't have that because of noise. The houses are too close. There's courts being shut down. They're spending $500,000 million on courts and bathrooms, and they're being shut down because of the noise. This location does not have a noise issue. The engineering studies say 600 feet in the direction of the ball and 300, 350 feet to the sides. We have no problem. I think it's about 700 feet, maybe a little bit more to the house on the corner there, and we have a state road and trees behind. We're not going to have a noise issue. So I understand people want to have all these different reasons, but we've gone through these for 3 years. The second thing is Shadow Pines is 208 acres, okay? The courts, assuming the courts that you, in the plan, if you did 16 courts, with 2 of them being the larger courts, that's 42,352 square feet. An acre is 43,560. So we're talking less than an acre. So I just don't think that's a big deal. That's less than 0.5% of the acreage there. And that's it. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Quick enough?
That's really good. Thank you, James. Thank you. Appreciate it. And as always, you can reach me, Jim. You can call me at the office here at the supervisor's office, and I'm happy to, I'm sure, talk with you as well as anyone else. So with that, I'm going to close public participation. Again, you can always email us at supervisor@penfield.org. You can call 340-8771. Your comments will get to the town board. So appreciate everyone that's come for tonight and your comments. Yes, sir.
That's during the petition portion of the agenda.
That'll be coming. Okay. So right now, I would proceed with, if anybody did want to leave, I just want to let you know that you could now. We're going to go to our regular part of the meeting. Additions and deletions to the agenda.
Supervisor Drawe, I have 2 additions for later in the session under public safety, be 23T192 and 23T193.
Second.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we have to vote on that. We can move. We can just move
pass
them.
without no vote.
And pass them without a vote.
And I think Linda said she moved.
I seconded.
She seconded. Okay.
Linda seconded or moved?
Second.
No.
She seconded.
Oh, you moved. Yeah, okay.
I didn't think we had.
Sorry.
I didn't think we had to vote on that. Okay,
No.
we'll vote. We don't.
Peter says can't.
Okay. All right. So
Okay.
the next item on the agenda before you is that you have, board, is the August 2nd minutes. Before you, anyone have any questions, comments? That being said, roll call vote, please.
I need somebody to move them.
Oh, I'm sorry, move it. I'm sorry, moved.
Second.
Moved, I'm sorry, moved and seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
Great.
4 ayes.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda here is petitions, which we do have a petition, I'm told.
I received a petition today regarding the need for construction of 12 to 16 pickleball courts on the Shadow Pines property instead of the newly proposed reduced number of 10 pickleball courts. There were 74 Penfield residents that signed, 93 residents of surrounding towns, equaling 167 signatures.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is resolutions by function, law and finance. Madam Clerk.
Okay. Termination of agreement with Property Registration Champions, LLC.
So moved.
Second.
The Town of Penfield entered into an agreement with Property Registration Champions, LLC on January 9th, 2019, to provide services and authorize pursuant to the ordinance to register vacant, abandoned, foreclosed properties so that the community can properly address violations of the community's property maintenance code. This agreement between the Town of Penfield and Property Registration Champions may be terminated by the town in the event of insolvency of the property registry champions or the commencement by or against the PRC of any case of proceedings under any bankruptcy, reorganization, insolvency, or moratorium law of any other laws or laws for the relief of debtors or the appointment of any receiver, trustee, or assignment to take possession of the properties of the PRC unless such petition or appointments is set aside or withdrawn or ceases to be in effect within 30 days from the date of the commencement or appointment of the liquidation or dissolution of the PRC. Therefore, be it resolved, according to the agreement, on January 9th, 2019, Section 3, Terms and Termination, this agreement between the town and Property Registration Champions, LLC, is hereby terminated by the town under 3B, Termination for Insolvency, and therefore be it resolved that this contract termination agreement to be reviewed and approved by the town attorney.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, a roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Setting a public hearing on 2024 preliminary and special districts budget.
So moved.
Second.
The public hearing on the proposed Town of Penfield 2024 preliminary budget and 2024 special districts budget will be held Wednesday, October 4th, 2023 at 6:30 in the Town Hall, that all persons wishing to be heard be given an opportunity at that time. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town Clerk causes a notice of public hearing to be published in the official newspaper at least 10 days prior to the hearing, and be it further resolved that the legal notice shall be also listed a summary of the 2024 budget as required by law and contain a statement that a copy of the preliminary budget will be available at the office of the Town Clerk where any interested person may inspect it during office hours on or after September 19th. A copy of the 2024 preliminary budget will also be available at the public library as well as online at penfield.org.
Thank you. Any discussion? I know we saw that, heard the tentative just a few minutes ago, so or a couple hours ago, I should say. Roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Budget amendments in the general fund for recreation and parks.
Whereas, so moved.
Second.
Whereas increased registrations and attendance for playgrounds, youth programs at the Recreation Department require an increase in the appropriations from the program fees collected, whereas the Town of Penfield received a grant in the amount of $5,000 from the New York State for tree planting projects, and whereas the Town Board determined to use said grant funds for the planting of trees on the former Shadow Pines property, and whereas the Town Board desires to have an up-to-date budget in relation to the current appropriations and revenue, be it resolved that the attached 2023 budget amendments be approved, and its revenue to appropriations in the amount of $5,000.
And this is just an increase in the 2023 revenue totals that have caused for an increase of into expend funds needed to pay for our programs and events, as Councilwoman Kohl has said. So pretty routine. We do this routinely. Any questions or concerns? Roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization for the supervisor to sign a professional services contract with BME Associates for engineering services related to the Shadow Pines property.
So moved.
Second.
Town Board authorizes BME Associates to complete their site plans and bid specs for the Shadow Pines development. It was started in 2022. Whereas after the public comment and feedback, the board had requested that the design plans and specifications be revised. BME Associates submitted a new proposal to prepare site plan and supporting documentation at a cost not to exceed $34,080. And whereas the board previously classified this project as type 1 action at its meeting on June 8, 2022. The identified involved interested agencies that were contacted declined lead agency status, so therefore the town board declared itself the lead agency pursuant to seeker for the review of the above referenced project as a type 1 action. Whereas on September 28, 2002, the board acting as lead agency pursuant to seeker, having classified the proposed action as a type 1 action, adopted a full EAF Part 2 and 3 negative declaration document. Accordingly, the submission of the draft environmental impact statement was not required. So therefore, be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign a contract with BME Associates to prepare a site plan and supporting documentation as identified in the professional service contract attached at a cost not to exceed $34,080.
So one thing I wanted to say, comment about this board is throughout this process, I think we've worked really closely with the community, and we've received a great deal of feedback on this. Obviously tonight we had quite a few speakers for this, for us moving forward with the project, and we had some which we heard not so much, that maybe didn't want to. I think this updated plan that we have before us will include, is it going to be a careful consideration of all our feedback we've received from the community. There's many different ideas on how we best move forward, and I'm pretty confident in saying this, that this plan represents a good compromise, and it considers the best interests of our entire community. And as a board, I know that it's our job to serve everyone, and this new plan provides, I think, a benefit to all in Penfield. So I really appreciate the opportunity in front of us, and I'm so excited, that we can work on this again. We will be able to, this again is just, this is a updated design, and drawings will be reviewed by us, by the board, and with the intention of putting the project out to bid later, but we'll still be able to have some input on that. This is really just to get them going in the next step in the design. So I see, board, I see a comment from the audience, but at this point,
No,
we don't have during this legislative meeting. We don't have comments from the audience. But you could ask. You could have. Okay, you can ask. Well, you could ask. This is for the bit. Okay. Okay, we'll talk about that afterwards. Okay. So, board, is there any other discussion or questions you had on that?
Not questions. I think we've gone through this quite a bit, and I know you've had a lot of conversations yourself in your full-time role as supervisor, and we've all had our input. We've all listened to a lot of people. I think this is a good compromise. You can't keep going back and forth, or it'll never happen. We do have to make a decision to go forward, and I think we've run the gamut. We've gone over all summer long, and it's time to put this out to BME to revise the plans for the bids.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.
I think it's important to note that we can't make everyone 100% happy with whatever decision or determination or next step that we take. And I understand that the boards previously had talked about this project from 3 years ago, but like everyone knows, life in Penfield is not stagnant. And throughout this process, we've listened to community feedback and from different subject matter experts and different interest groups at every juncture. That's part of the reason why it's been delayed, because we've wanted to consider and reconsider different parts of the project. And I think it's helpful to note that Clark House is being rehabilitated for use as a lodge. That space is central to Penfield, and like you said, it's going to serve everyone, right? Like Shadow Pines, it doesn't belong to only pickleball players. And again, nothing against pickleball players. I don't want emails flooded tonight. I have nothing against pickleball players, but it does not belong to that group alone. And I every work session, we've tried to balance the interests of all residents, young and old, nature lovers, recreation lovers. And if saving every tree possible here were our highest priority, I think there would be value in reconsidering to maybe Rothfuss Park or to some other location, but it's not the only priority, right? And if saving cost of the construction were our highest priority, then we would potentially want to level even more areas and to add the open fields that we know that there was a need for, the additional green space, the soccer fields that I'm talking about, that we have heard from the recreation department and the leagues that there's a need for. We would add the additional 12, 16, 20, however many courts that we've heard from pickleball players. But again, saving costs of construction is not the only priority. We're trying to balance all of these things, and I think we're trying to optimize the use for all residents and the general public at large, and trying to balance, again, with the information that we have available now and as best we can now. So I think, like you said, I am in favor of this modified approach, taking into consideration the last year, really, of public feedback to just get the revised bid. That's what the resolution tonight is for. It's not to vote on any site plan, but to, again, send out for the engineering services for a revised bid so that we can reconsider or consider again. So I'm in favor of it. Bob, I don't know if you have other thoughts.
No, I think both of you have stated it very well, and I think it's just important to know that this is, like you just explained, authorizing BME to take the next step. It doesn't mean we can't, if we so choose, make a few tweaks. If we heard some information tonight that we think was helpful or beneficial, we can make that tweak with BME during that process. So just want to make it known it's not locked at this point. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
All right. So, roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization to attend 2023 New York State Magistrate Court Clerk Conference.
So moved.
Second.
The New York State Magistrate Court Clerk Annual Fall Conference has been scheduled at Turning Stone Resort in Verona through September 17th through September 20th, 2023. The conference is designed to keep court clerks updated on changes in law and procedures and provide educational opportunities for the court clerks. Effective January 1st, 2019, under the rules of the Chief Judge, annual court clerk training is now mandatory. Therefore, be it resolved that the Penfield court clerks are hereby authorized to attend the 2023 New York State Magistrates Court Clerks Annual Fall Conference. The funds to attend the conference are included in the 2023 budget and will not exceed $2,100.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization to advertise for sealed proposals for new sidewalk construction bids.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas the town of Penfield desires to construct sidewalks within the town in accordance with the town's sidewalk policy and is committed to providing safe pedestrian access for residents and has therefore allocated funds in the 2024 Sidewalk Fund for various sidewalk projects. Now therefore be it resolved that the town engineer be and hereby is authorized to advertise in the manner prescribed by law for sealed proposals for the installation and replacement of damaged concrete sidewalks where they are needed. The bids shall be advertised in a manner in accordance with law on September 28th, received by the town clerk, and read publicly and opened on October 20th.
Thank you. Any discussion? I know that this year we were not able to have any sidewalks that were not bid on. So we're hoping that by getting these out early, that we will be first in line here in the town so we can do some of our sidewalk projects. Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization to advertise for sealed proposals for a stream stabilization project for Allen's Creek.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas the town board supports the Allens Creek stabilization project and has been working with BNL engineers for many years on the studies and plans needed for the project and all of the required permits from New York Department of Environmental Conservation and the U.S. Army Corps have been obtained for this project. Whereas the town board discussed this project on October 12th, 2022, and the town board acting as lead agency pursuant to seeker classified this proposal as an unlisted action and reviewed the environmental assessment form and subsequently made a determination of non-significance and adopted a negative declaration for this proposal in October 2022, and the town has since completed a site walk through and site walkthrough. I see.
Yeah,
It should be
sidewalk, yeah.
hyphenated.
Site walk,
Sorry.
yeah.
Site walkthrough and public information meetings with all of the neighbors and stakeholders involved. And whereas the town discussed the project at its work session on August 16, 2023, now therefore be it resolved that the town engineer be and is hereby authorized to advertise in the manner prescribed by law sealed proposals for this project to be advertised on October 5th and then received by the town clerk and read publicly on November 3rd.
And this is another project that, unfortunately, we put this out to bid and did not get any bidders here in this year. So our town engineer, Mark Valentine, wanted to put this back out as soon as possible so we can see if we can get on the books for early in 2024. So thank you. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization to auction surplus equipment on October 7th, 2023 at the Monroe County Municipal Fall Auction.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas DPW has identified a list of equipment as surplus, making available for public auction, the town supervisor and director of public works now hereby be granted the authority to amend the attached list prior to final designation as surplus equipment. This list to include a 2008 Chevy Impala and a 2010 Ford F40 stake body with plow. Be it further resolved that the proceeds resulting from the auction be credited to the appropriate fund.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Purchase of one 2023 Chevrolet Silverado 3500 HD.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas the Director of Public Works desires to purchase one Chevy Silverado with stake body from a dealer in Albany, New York for a total cost of $72,969.50. And whereas funds were allocated in the 2021 Parks Department budget for this vehicle, but due to supply chain issues, the vehicle was unable to be purchased in that budget year. And whereas the town board approves appropriation for said amount from the unassigned general fund balance as an amendment to the 2023 Parks Department budget to fund this purchase in full. Now therefore be it resolved that the Director of Public Works is authorized to purchase this vehicle.
Thank you. This along with the next one, we're back ordered and we were from back budget, so glad to be able to get some new fleet in here. So any other discussion?
I think it's the next two vehicle
yep.
purchases. So
yeah, the next right.
Yep,
This one and the
thank
next
you.
one. Right, both of them. Thank you. Roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Purchase of one 2024 Chevrolet Silverado 3500 HD.
So moved.
Second.
Where similarly, the Director of Public Works desires to purchase one 2024 Chevy Silverado from a dealer in Albany for a total cost of $80,595. Total funds for this purchase are available in the 2023 Parks Department budget. And by this resolution, the director would be hereby authorized to purchase that vehicle.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Purchase of one 2025 International HV 607 six-wheel truck with sweeper body.
So moved.
Second.
Lastly, the Director of Public Works desires to purchase a wheel truck with sweeper body from a dealer in Onondaga County for a total cost of $356,734.60. Town Board approves appropriation for this amount from the Highway Capital Reserve Fund as an amendment to the 2023 Highway Department budget to fund this purchase. Now therefore be it resolved that the Director is authorized to purchase this vehicle and that the adoption of this expenditure would be from the Highway Capital Reserve and is subject to a permissive referendum, and the town clerk be and hereby is directed to publish and post the notice in a manner prescribed by law.
Okay. Any discussion? No. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. State Environmental Quality Review Act, known as SEQR, review and determination associated with the Town of Penfield DPW garage project.
So moved.
Second.
I don't know if it matters, but the acronym is, there are two separate acronyms for the same act.
Seeker?
It's usually known as seeker. It's both. Sometimes they do it without the A.
Okay.
But
Okay.
typically it's seeker.
Okay, so seeing that there's no issue there, the Town of Penfield Town Board has reviewed seeker and the full environmental assessment form, Part 1, prepared by MRB Group. With respect to the DPW garage project, the town board has determined that this action is classified as a type 1 action under seeker regs, and the town board determines that this action is also subject to review and approval by other involved agencies under seeker regs. The town board determines that it is the most appropriate agency to ensure the coordination of this action and will provide written notifications to all such involved agencies to conduct a coordinated review and make determinations accordingly. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board does hereby declare its intent to be designated as the lead agency for this action and directs the town supervisor to sign and date the full environmental assessment form Part 1. And the town engineer would further be directed to provide notice to all involved agencies seeking their agreement or objection to this action in writing.
Okay. Thank you. And this is just part of what we have to do as a town, and our new DPW garage project, which I know Councilman Ockenden had mentioned that we're going to have an open house in October 14th on that. You'll be able to hopefully be able to see all the designs for this new DPW. Long overdue, because we've been talking about, Linda, I think you've probably been on the board since they've been talking about this for 15 years or something, right? So it's been a long time, so it's a definitely needed in our, so any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Emergency repair and secure.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas, 189, whereas on March 4th, 2020, the Town Board of the Town of Penfield adopted a resolution to enact local law number 3 of 2015 entitled "The Local Law to Provide for the Codification of the Local Laws, Ordinances, and Certain Resolutions of the Town of Penfield into Municipal Code to be designated the Code of the Town of Penfield." And whereas the purpose of the Code of the Town of Penfield includes, among other things, to provide for the safety, health, protection, and general welfare of persons and property in the Town of Penfield by requiring the securing and maintaining of all such properties within the town that may have become abandoned, neglected, and/or otherwise inadequately secured by the owner, thereof in accordance with the applicable property maintenance, secure compliance code requirements of the Town of Penfield. And whereas the property owner of number 2 Rockhurst Drive, Penfield, SBL number 109.05-3-20, has failed to maintain the subject property in accordance with the applicable code requirements, which is resulting in concerns for the safety, health, protection, and general welfare of surrounding persons and properties. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Penfield hereby authorizes the Fire Marshal to have the properties appropriately secured. Be it further resolved that the Town Board further authorizes that the cost of said emergency repairs or securing during the year 2023 also be charged to the property receiving the required emergency call-out service to the 2023-2024 property tax bill for the subject property, which will include a 25% administrative fee for service provided.
Something that we don't really like to have to do, but unfortunately, sometimes we do. I know our building and codes, Heidi Bale is in the back, and she's been very diligent on making sure that our structures in there are up to up to snuff in this town, so thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization to attend American Red Cross instructor trainer training.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas the American Red Cross provides lifeguard instructor trainer training to become certified to train lifeguard, CPR/AED, and other first aid instructors. Having a Penfield recreation staff member with the certification, of course, benefits the town for aquatic programming and other required certifications for the town staff. Now, be it resolved that Joel Freeman, a member of the recreation staff, is authorized to attend this training from September 19th through the 22nd in Maryland. The funds will be utilized from the swim instruction expense line in the 2023 budget and shall not exceed $1,250 to cover expenses related to that training.
Thank you. And just to clarify this is certification for a one-time only expense for Joel. So as long as he continues to run this program once per year, and we'll be going through Penfield Recreation. So this allows him to train our rec department, to train the staff, internal and local municipalities as well, organizations for lifeguards, CPR, AED, and first aid. So it's something that's going to be a benefit absolutely to us and for other people in the community. So we're happy that Joel plans to get this certification to become the lifeguard instructor trainee. So it'd be good to have in in Penfield here. So any other discussion? No. Roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Appointments to the Parks and Recreation Master Plan Update Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas the town board reestablishes the Parks and Recreation Master Plan Update Committee to update the 2019 Parks and Recreation Master Plan, be it resolved that the following persons be appointed to this committee until the master plan is approved by the town board in 2024. Resident members: Alex DeBella, Don Hoyler, William Ludamowski, John Schmelik, Niraj Shah, James Stamfer. From the town staff: Andrew Erkfitz, Tim Masterton, Sabrina Renner, Pam Geraci. And from the town board: Linda Kohl.
Nice, very good. Thanks, Linda, staying on. So we're looking for an updated master plan, probably to a couple of you people will still be on the board in the winter, spring of 2024. So, and again, Linda, thanks for helping to.
Yeah, I don't think it'll
serve
take
on
that long. You know, we've done it before,
Good.
and it's a really good process. I've been on the committee before, too, and
Well, with you leading it, we'll have some good experience there.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay, that.
Thank you, Linda, for serving on yet another committee in your final months here.
My pleasure.
Taking on additional work. Thank you.
All right, that's, old business, board, is there any old business? New business, I know we have 2 items, please.
Making a determination of non-significance and adopting a negative declaration for the removal of an abandoned structure at 14075 Mile Line Road.
Whereas the town board supports the removal.
Need a move
I'm
and
sorry.
second?
Yes.
You moved it?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Sorry. Whereas the town board supports the removal of the abandoned structure at 1407 5 Mile Line Road before it becomes a hazard or an attractive nuisance, and whereas the town board hereby declares itself lead agent for this project, and it is the only involved agency for this action. Whereas the town board, acting as lead agency pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, has classified this proposal as an unlisted action. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board hereby makes a determination of non-significance and adopts a negative declaration for this proposal, a copy of which is attached hereto and made part hereof.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Ordering removal of an abandoned structure located at 14075 Mile Line Road.
So moved.
Second.
Also submitted by DPW, whereas the town of Penfield, as the owner of the property and abandoned structure located at 1407 5 Mile Line Road, whereas a And whereas pre-demolition asbestos survey was conducted by Leader Professional Service Incorporated, the results of the survey identified asbestos-containing materials present. And whereas abatement of the asbestos-containing materials identified will be completed by Sessler Environmental Services, LLC, prior to any additional work. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board finds that the structure located on the property is no longer needed to support operations and hereby orders the abandoned structure to be removed safely before it becomes a hazard or an attractive nuisance. Be it further resolved, the town board hereby authorizes and directs the Director of Public Works to coordinate the safe removal of said structure. All debris will be sorted and separated to allow for proper recycling and disposal. Any materials found to be in good condition will be salvaged and saved for potential future use.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
I'm relying on the recommendations from the Director of Public Works and the assessment that he made, and I think information shared with the Supervisor and for this resolution.
Thank you.
Agreed.
All right. Roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes.
All right. There is no executive session tonight. The next meeting of the town board meeting shall be October 4th, right here at 6 p.m., and I will close this meeting at 8:55 p.m. So I thank you all for attending. Everyone that stayed to the end of this meeting, so thank you all. Enjoy September. It's in fall. Okay, have a good night.